Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to another episode on Northwoods Exploration. As always, my name is Jeremy, and in today's episode I want to share with you 3 tips for all knife collectors. Maybe you're new to collecting knives, maybe you've been collecting knives for quite some time. Either way, I think these tips can be helpful and beneficial to you. Let's get to it, guys. Alright guys, as I said, I want to share with you 3 tips for anyone who's going to be or currently is collecting knives. When I sat down and started thinking about this concept, I thought, what would I want to share with myself if I could go back to, 2010 even, or maybe 2005 and say, Jeremy, if you do this is really going to help you out a lot in your collecting journey. I want to go ahead and jump right in. And first of all, number 1, begin with research. Begin with research. And I think this comes down to 3 primary points. First of all, especially when we're talking about knives, you got to learn about the blade steel. You got to learn what's what for the most part. I mean, yes, like Blade HQ has a really good section on their website, a really good page that goes over the pros and cons of each type of steel. I'm working on a video about that, going over that and discussing it, but that's going to be coming probably closer to middle to late winter, possibly early spring. But you got to learn what's what. You got to learn the difference between VG steel versus Damascus steel, or D2 versus 8CR13 MOV, and I'm not saying you got to know like the carbon content and you got to understand the intricate details of these steels. No, I'm not saying that at all, but I do think it would be beneficial to learn, okay, what's on the lower end, what's kind of mid-tier, what's going to be really good steel, and also learning what steels are good for certain jobs. Learn about steels, not necessarily what just their name, I would say, but their characteristics. What are their pros and cons, and that way you can begin the process of refining what you're looking for. I think another aspect of research as well is understand different types of handle materials. Understand handle materials, like when you go to Blade HQ and you see FRN handles. Well, what in the world is FRN? Well, that's fiberglass reinforced nylon. What is G10? You see all these different types of materials for knife handles. What do these things mean? And so I think it would be good to have a decent grasp on not only the blade steels that are out there and the characteristics of those, but also understand a little bit more about the different types of handles that are out there. What are they good for? What are their strengths, weaknesses, so on and so forth. And I would also learn what brands excel in certain areas. Like, as I've said before, I'm a Spyderco guy and I love my Spyderco knives, but I'm also a Civivi guy as well. And where my CPMS 45V in steel, paramilitary 2 from Spyderco is really good quality, like this Civivi Naha, which has, I think it's 9CR18 MOV, I believe, steel on this. I love this knife. This knife is really good for, I've actually taken this diving, but I mean, like, this is a good knife for everyday carry, in my opinion. Unfortunately, they don't make this knife anymore. But the point I'm trying to make is, you look at certain brands, certain types of steels, you look at certain handle materials. what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, because once you learn these, then you can really start refining what you're looking for. And this leads me to point number 2, and this is, I really think you need to define your purpose. You need to define your purpose. This is really your purpose in collecting. I think there are 2 questions you can ask yourself that will go a long way in helping you in this particular category. The first question would be, you need to ask yourself, what do you want from a knife? What do you want from a knife? Are you wanting something that's going to basically be a safe queen and you want it just to have it? Or is it going to be a workhorse of a knife for you? I mean, you look at a great example of this. I purchased about 3 years ago this Spyderco, excuse me, this Spyderco Paramilitary 2. Sub $200, $250 knife. It's expensive for a working guy like me. Does this sit around and just look pretty? No. If you actually look at the blade, it's actually pretty dirty right now. Why is it dirty? Because I use it. It's a knife. It's a tool. And it's going to be used as a tool. It's not just going to sit around. And I think you need to ask yourself, in collecting knives, what is your purpose? Do you want just a nice, beautiful drawer of knives that look pretty? Or do you want knives that get the job done? I mean, you saw how dirty my Spyderco is, even going back to this Civivi Naha. It's seen a little mileage here. So, yeah. I mean, these knives that I have, a lot of them take a beating because they are actually used both when I'm at work, when I'm in the field, when I'm doing videography or photography around the house, so on and so forth. These knives actually are put to work. So, what do you want in a knife? Do you want a safe queen that's going to look pretty, or do you want something that's going to get the job done? And then I think in defining your purpose, the second question you need to ask yourself is, why are you purchasing a certain brand, a certain steel, or a certain style? When you look at, like if you're on Blade HQ and you're going through your wish list there, we all have a wish list on Blade HQ. Let's just be honest. Some of us have more in there than others, I'm sure. But when you look at the different brands that you're keeping an eye on, when you're looking at the different types of steel, or you're looking at the different styles, you need to ask yourself, what is the point in purchasing these knives? And this really goes back to the first question under this heading. What do you want from a knife? And based upon what you want from a knife, then you're going to be able to answer the question of, why are you purchasing this particular brand, or this particular steel, or this particular style? I know a lot of guys today like a good Tonto knife. I think it looks cool, but for me, it's impractical. It's just not practical. But you hand me a knife that's got a good Scandi grind on it, I'll take it. Yeah. You hand me a $20 Mora Knife Companion with a nice Scandi grind on it, I'll take that in the woods all day. You hand me a beefy knife with a Tonto shaped blade on it, I'm not really interested in that. Why? Because I want something that has good curvature on it, something I can use for food prep just as easily as I can feather sticking, a limb out in the woods. So you really need to define your purpose. After you do your research, you kind of look at some things and different characteristics of different types of blade steel or knives, whether it be the handles or, whatever it might be that you're researching. Once you refine what you're looking for, and it's only then that you can really define your purpose. And I think all this leads to the third point on this list, and that's that you have to refine your taste. You have to refine your taste. And I'll tell you, you do your research, you know what your purpose is, what you're wanting to accomplish. And once you reach that point, what you think you like has to be refined. It does. And I think primarily this happens in two ways. First of all, you have to find out what you like and what you dislike. And unfortunately, sometimes this can take a little bit of trial and error. I'll go back to the example I gave a few moments ago about Tonto style blades. I've got nothing against them. It doesn't fit my purpose. But there was a point in time I would have looked at a Tonto style blade and thought, wow, that looks really cool. I think that'd be useful. But then when I'm in the woods, how useful is it to me? Not really all that much. I think you really have to refine your likes and your dislikes. And unfortunately, that takes trial and error. That's going to take time. As I mentioned in another video, I have a whole drawer full of knives upstairs that I don't do anything with. Why? Because I had to refine my likes and dislikes. I defined what I liked, what I didn't like, what I could live with, what I didn't want to live without, so on and so forth. Those things just had to be done. And the final thing here, and I guess this is more of a caveat than anything else, but you need to understand, if you're going to get into knife collecting, your tastes are going to change. They're going to change. And there's really no way around that at all. What you like today is probably not going to be what you're going to like tomorrow. The blade steels that I thought were the cat's meow 3 years ago are probably in my mid to lower tier now. Why? Because I had the ability to experience other types of steel, other blade styles, other materials, so on and so forth. And so you need to understand going into this, what you like today may not be what you like tomorrow. And I'll give you a great example of this. And I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. We've gone about 12, almost 13 minutes now into this video. But I'll wrap it up talking about this. There was a time about 5 to 10 years ago that I thought this knife here was the best thing ever. And this is a knife made by Stanley. It's called the Stanley Fat Max. And I carried this knife. The handle was pretty beefy for me. Blade length, I think this is a 3.5-inch blade. Good size. I could choke up on it with my thumb. Didn't have any problems with that. At the time, this was everything I needed and nothing that I didn't. This was great. Has a bottle opener, has a section here along the bottom that is serrated even. Let me see if I can get that to show. Yeah. So, I mean, I thought this was a great knife. And then one day I lost it. One day I lost that knife in my vehicle. Could not find it. I didn't find it for another 6 years. 6 years. And what had happened in that time is I had bought knives like this Civivi Praxis. I had bought knives such as the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. And yes, there were a lot of knives between those two. This was a knife that I purchased sort of at the beginning of my journey, and this is one I purchased probably 2 or 3 years ago. Bottom line is, by the time I got back around to the Stanley Fat Max, a knife that I thought was the cat's meow, a knife that I thought, this is all I'm ever going to need, I found that there was a whole world out there of knives that really fit my need a lot more. And so today, since I found this knife, how many times have I carried the Stanley? I'll give you 3 guesses, and the first 2 don't count. Yeah, that's right. Goose egg, 0. 0. Yeah. The reason why I bring that up is because you can sit down and do all the research you want to over all the aspects of a knife that you want to buy. You can sit down and spend hours and hours defining your purpose. And you can even spend a lot of time refining your tastes. But what I've learned the hard way, as well as many EDC guys have learned, is just the simple truth that what was good for you one day is not going to cut it in light of something else. And folks, this is the reason, if I had to pick 3 tips for any knife collectors, these would be it. These would be it. Do your research, define your purpose, and ultimately refine your tastes. Because it's going to change over time until you find that just right mixture of what you're looking for. And who knows, that may even change over time too. So, if you're new to collecting, just understand it's a journey. It's okay if you buy a few knives here and there that aren't going to make the cut in 5 years. It's perfectly fine. I got a whole drawer full of knives that do not make the cut today. And for those of you who are watching who may be collectors currently, you're probably sitting there, yep, that's right. That's right. It's like, yeah, I'm up here preaching or something. Anyway, bottom line, guys, test it out. See what you like. See what you don't like. And just get out there. And the bottom line is it's a journey. So have fun with it. So I've chatted long enough. I've run my yap long enough. I'm going to bring this video to a close. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments below. I do personally answer every single comment that comes in. I might not get to it immediately, but I will comment on every single comment that is put on any of my videos. So go ahead, leave those below. If you have any questions, also, I'm more than willing to answer those. If you have any video suggestions about any videos you'd like for me to make, I'm totally open to those also. So anyway, guys, that's all I got for today. Don't forget, get out there, come join the adventure, and I will catch you guys in the next episode. Take care.